Hello, this is my League Start guide slash plan for a cold spell Chronomancer. Originally, I was just going to go full into Frost Dart's endgame, but then I saw this. This is the new Kalgurin skill that was teased just yesterday, Bitter Dead. And once I saw this, I knew I had to go for a YOLO start into it. This spell functions very similar to Volatile Dead, where it consumes a corpse to summon auto-targeting spell balls that explode on impact, dealing cold damage, and also leave behind a little bit of ground that deals cold damage over time. I'm live right now, streaming test runs of this build at twitch/pathofky. I also have a full written leveling and endgame guide that I will leave a link to below. And in this video, I'm going to go over my full step-by-step leveling setup, act by act, everything that you need that I'm going to use to take this from level 1 to T15s. And from there, depending on how early you can acquire the new skill, I'm going to be building out around it. The question from there will be, do we want to use it on just clear, or can we also use it for single target? Corpse generation for single target is pretty painful, as it requires you to use sacrifice in combination with a bunch of spirit reserving minions, while also stacking nodes to lower their respawn time to even give you the uptime on your spell. So for that reason, I think it's probably gonna be mainly a clear thing, but you know, we'll see. If the damage on it is really crazy that it would justify that much investment into it, then I do have a plan to go into that as well. And all of this is going to be packaged inside the new reworked Chronomancer. The new reworked Chronomancer has one of the most, if not the best, defensive node in the game now, which is phased form. It says take 30% less damage than 4 seconds after being damaged by an enemy hit. Take damage equal to 30% of that hit's damage. So two things about this. First of all, the take 30% less damage applies to everything. So any dot that's all degen, grounds, ignites, poisons, anything, bleed, all of that, you're just going to straight up take 30% less damage from. The 30% of damage that you take after being hit only applies to hits. And you have to keep in mind that since you're originally taking 30% less damage, so let's say you're taking, 100 damage from a hit, then you're going to take 70 damage, okay? And then you're taking 30% of that 70 damage 4 seconds after being hit. And then so 30% of that 70 would be 21. So you're only taking 91 damage compared to the 100 damage. So you're getting, about a 10% flat DR on all hit damage as well. But this delayed damage allows you to recover all that damage, saving you from way more one-shots and allows you to, recoup yourself back up. Now, how do we go about recovering our life or ES with this node? The question is will the damage we take 4 seconds later interrupt ES recharge? I'm thinking it probably will. So that means recharge is pretty much out the window. So you have a couple options. You are either going to be going something like a mana stacker, go mind over matter, recover your life that way just by getting mana and mana regen, but there's also stuff like Sacrosanctum, and for Sacrosanctum specifically interacting with this node, being able to recoup your life and ES and just getting some recoup on the tree or maybe somewhere else in some other uniques or something, and then that interacting with this delayed effect is going to be like crazy. And if all else fails, then you pop on down here and you take Temporal Rift, and you can just Temporal Rift your way through everything. On Chronomancer, I'm probably going to be taking the 20% slow in combination with something like a Blasphemy Temp Chains, maybe also in combination with something like Whispering Ice. And then all of a sudden, everything is just being slowed by a ridiculous amount, and it's just never going to hit you anyways. How much effective HP do you really need in terms of recovery if nothing is ever hitting you in the first place? But I'm probably going to be leaning more towards a Sacrosanctum over having to use something like Temporal Rift, because I feel like this is just something that feels like a little bit weird to use in your mapping. It's going to take you back 4 seconds in the past. I don't really want to be running ahead into a pack, maybe taking damage and then having to Temporal Rift back 4 seconds, that doesn't sound like it's going to feel very good. So next up, I just kind of want to walk through the leveling for this build and how everything's going to go in the campaign. So Act 1, you're just going to do the usual caster, Contagion, Essence Drain, Bone Storm. It is just what you always do. It's just so much better than basically everything else that you're just going to do that. The clear is great. Single target's great with Bone Storm. Moving into Act 2, you can stay on that set up for a little while until you can get enough support gems to get your Ice Nova, Frost Bomb, and Frost Darts all decked out with 2 supports each at least. I have 3 in here just in case you get a Lesser Jeweler's Orb, you can slap something in there. But you really just need 2, mainly on the Ice Nova and the Frost Bomb, and then Frost Darts. You can keep using Bone Storm if you can't get your Frost Darts supports, and you can just keep running that. And then once you get like 2 supports into the Frost Darts, and Frost Darts starts being a little bit better, you snap to get your Frost Infusions. You press Cold, or you press Ice Nova, and that is your main clear. Ice Nova to freeze, snap, get the infusions, Ice Nova, repeat. You do that. And for a single target, you're just going to throw down your Frost Bomb, Elemental Weakness, spam Frost Darts. That's it. Moving into Act 3, this is when your single target gets like a lot better. It's a little bit weird because you start using Frost Walls, so what you're going to do for single target is then Elemental Weakness, Frost Bomb, spam some Frost Walls on top of the Frost Bomb, it detonates all the Frost Walls, hits the boss, does a big old chunk of damage, and you kind of just cycle through repeating that. You can use Frost Darts as filler as need be, but a majority of the time you're going to be casting Frost Bomb and Frost Wall, and then also Freezing Mark to get 30% as extra cold. Act 4, it's the same thing as before. Nothing has changed here. The only difference is in Act 3, you're going to pick up your Siphon Elements partway through, and that's going to help you a lot with your charge generation, your cold infusion generation as you're walking around clearing stuff, so you don't have to snap nearly as much when you have that on. You have basically permanent charge uptime, no problems at all at that point, and then you just Ice Nova your way around and continue the single target the same as before. And same thing for Act 5, the only change here being that you pick up enough Spirit to get Blasphemy in on top of the Siphon Elements. You can also just forgo the Siphon Elements and get the Blasphemy in Act 3. And just deal with the kind of mediocre cold infusion generation. You can do that, but I like this way better personally. Getting into the first end game setup, you're going to be pretty much staying in all of that same stuff right there. Nothing's going to change. You might start using more Frost Darts at some point, but I think it's going to be still mainly the Frost Wall and Frost Bomb combo for bosses, and then you're just walking around Ice Novaing as usual. And for the final step that I have in here is going to be like a mid-end game setup. So when you get enough Spirit to use Blasphemy and Cast on Crit at the same time, you can also forgo Blasphemy and just use the Cast on Crit. The only thing here is that you kind of want to have a Whispering Ice before you start thinking at all about just using Frost Darts for clear and whatnot. And same thing for Snake Pit. I think getting a Whispering Ice should be pretty easy, but getting Snake Pit is a little bit iffy. Depends on just how many builds are out there even using it. So we'll see. This is also geared towards like if you are going to be staying on Frost Darts. Glitched 3D. I think it's Glitch 3D has a endgame Frost Darts. I looked at his build and stuff. It was very, very endgame what he had out there. This is more meant to get you through campaign up into the point of T15s, and then either you can continue going on Frost Darts. I might stay on Frost Darts and expand upon this, and I'll do my own thing. I'm not going to do exactly what he was doing or whatever. But you could also, if I go into VD or Bitter Dead more, you could also look towards him as a more end game Frost Darts setup, but it looks like it's pretty end game, Again, this is meant to get you through campaign into T15s, start doing some content, start farming some currency. So this is the character. I did a little test campaign run for this build yesterday. Started out Essence Drain, Contagion, Swift Affliction, Zenith, Contagion, Unleash, Swift Affliction, and then Bone Storm with a rapid casting. These aren't the exact gems. I tossed them in my stash, but anyways. This is where I ended up at when I called it quits and had to go to bed, but Ice Nova, Ambush, Mag Area, considered casting, Frost Bomb, Short Fuse, Overabundance 2, Echo. You can also not use Short Fuse and use a different damage support. Probably better to have considered casting. Actually, I would prefer having considered casting in here over Short Fuse. Frost Wall, Cascade, considered casting, CDR. Frost Darts, considered casting, Rapid Casting 2, Elemental Focus, Snap, Harmonic Remnants, and an Elemental Focus. That doesn't really do anything. You only really want Harmonic Remnants 2, ideally. Elemental Weakness with Heightened Cursed, Efficiency 2. A Convalescence on there, and a Siphon Elements with Harmonic Remnants 2. As for our gear, this is a staff I was using up and through Act 5. Level 14 staff. It's a decent staff, kind of. T6 roll of spell damage and some okay as extra. Yeah, it was okay. It's a level 14 staff. I kind of got a little bit unlucky with my stuff here. Really unlucky actually, but that's okay. It was just life and res on all of your gear pieces. That's all you care about. And ideally, you'd have like a plus gem levels or something on your amulet if you're lucky enough to get one. As for the Ascendency in campaign, obviously in game we're not updated yet, but I think you just grab Sands of Time first off. And then your second Ascendency is probably going to be Apex of Movement for just 20% AoE slow. It's really nice. And then you'll probably third moved into what will be the 30% less damage, delayed damage node, the new one that will be here. And then from there you can decide, you know, off of feel, if you want to grab Temporal Rift, which will then be down here, or maybe do something else. So that's going to be it from me. If you like this video, leave it a like, and if you want to see updates to this build or other builds I do in the future, subscribe now. I'm live right now and every day at twitch/pathofky, so feel free to ask any questions you have there. Check out the FAQ below the video or leave a comment and I will get back to you as soon as I see you. And yeah, thanks for watching.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games.
Subscribe now and like the video.